that and stand if you're able. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for the invocation. Supervisor Locke. I'm sorry. Where are you?
There. As we begin this meeting, we remember to thank our Creator for all that we are and all that we will have. Please help to guide us through the tough decisions we have to make this evening. Amen.
Amen. Hopefully you'll all bear with me a little bit tonight. It's my first night at this chair, so. At this time, we'll give anyone in the audience a chance to come to the microphones on either side in the back. Tell us anything you'd like to talk about that pertains to Winnebago County, whether it's on the agenda or not, but as long as it pertains to Winnebago County. Just, pardon? Oh, I'm sorry. Before we do that, we need to adopt the agenda. Supervisor Albrecht.
I move to adopt this evening's agenda. Second.
Motion made and second to adopt the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Now again, anyone wishing to speak on anything pertaining to Winnebago County can come forward to either mic and state your name and address and what you'd like to talk about. This is your one and only chance.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Yep.
Oh, we're getting it here.
My name is Gene Goody. I'm the president of Northeast and Central Wisconsin Association. I'm here to assist your county with any questions or comments regarding ATVs and UTVs. I see that's on the agenda. I don't want to take up too much of your time. One thing that we would ask for, if you consider adopting the ordinance, would be to reconsider just adopting chapters 2333 to stay consistent throughout the Fox Valley area. Example on AH, I live in the village of Fremont. When Waupaca County adopted their ordinance, on the south side of the roadway is Waupaca County, is Winnebago County, and on the north side of AH will be Waupaca County. So if you allow that roadway, we're going to have two different conflicting ordinances. So I'm available if you need to ask me any questions at any time, and I'll let someone else speak. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else wish to speak?
My name's Don Hans. I'm from Neenah. I'm also here for the ATV, UTV. I also would like to make sure that we amend the ordinance. I'm glad you're voting on an ordinance to use them, but I do hunt and fish on Lake Winnebago and around Lake Winnebago, and I would like to use it on Lake Winnebago in the wintertime and be able to drive off of it without pulling my trailer to either Lake Winnebago Boat Landing or Paynes Point Hook and Spear Club, just to be able to use it on the lake. So that's why I'm here, to see what's going on.
Thank you. Okay.
I'm Tom Yancey, live in the city of Berlin, but I own property in the town of Utica. Also here in support of the ATV route ordinance that's on the agenda. I represent two clubs, Fox River Wheelers from Berlin and the Washoe County ATV Association. I appreciate that the Highway Commission has approved to their extent that they did, giving that an opportunity. I would like to ask the board to consider amending the proposed ordinance to allow year-round use. The time is consistent with a lot of other areas, but most places are year-round. Again, access to the vast frozen waterways in the area would be desirable, as well as since the machines are allowed to use public roads as long as they're a route or the speed limit is under 45 miles per hour to get to snow plowing locations, that would allow people to use the county highways to access their places that they would like to plow also.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Steve Wolgard. I live in the town of Wolf River on Richter Lane. I'm the retired police chief in Combined Locks, and I've also been an Outagamie County supervisor for terms. I know you have an ordinance in front of you that some are for and some are against. I would ask that you support this ordinance. I own my home is on Richter Lane. My mini farm, if you will, is on County Trunk Double M. And technically, I'm only about 250 feet onto Double M, but it prohibits me from taking my UTV from that location, my home location, down to the mini farm. It is licensed as a fur farm. I have fish farm. I keep a lot of fish pellets and whatnot in dry storage at my home. I need to travel that and haul that down on a weekly basis to feed. There may be some concerns about the size of these units. Technically, a small moped is able to travel on these roads without a headlight lit, no eye protection. We have bicycles on it. The proposed ordinance requires both headlight and tail light on these vehicles, which UTVs are quite a bit bigger. I think if there's some concern about these vehicles speeding, I'm sure that Winnebago Sheriff's Department is more than happy to enforce the laws as written on the book. So again, I would ask that you give some good consideration and approve this ordinance. Thank you much.
Thank you. Anyone else? This is your one and only chance if anyone wants to speak on anything tonight. Anyone else? Not seeing anyone else wishing to speak, we'll close that part. And we'll go to correspondence.
And Tom's is on too, Tom Ellis's.
Supervisor Ellis.
Thank you, Vice Chairman. I'd like to amend this evening's agenda to have ordinance 179-07-205, come before resolution 165-07-2019.
Motion has been made and seconded to move up 179-07-2019 ahead of 165-07-2019. Any discussion? Supervisor Eisen.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. I'd like advice from the Corporation Council. You've already adopted the agenda. The supervisor is asking for a revision of the agenda. I don't think that his motion was in order.
Corporate Counsel.
Chairman Egan, in fact, there was a unanimous motion to adopt the agenda as stated, so I believe that what the other supervisor just requested is out of order and untimely.
Okay, so we heard from Corporate Counsel, so this cannot be done at this time. Thank you. So we're back in order that it was adopted.
Ready for correspondence?
Correspondence.
Okay, you have a number of petitions for zoning amendments. The first one comes from Craig Norland in the town of Winnebago, requesting a zoning change to R1, I believe, or R2 for residential purposes, referred to planning and zoning. There's a petition for a text amendment from Carrie Rowe, the zoning administrator, for Chapter 16.05. That is also referred to the Planning and Zoning Committee. Another petition for text amendment from Carrie Rowe, the zoning administrator, and that is for Chapter 26 regarding floodplain. That is also referred to Planning and Zoning. We have a notice of claim from Bernie Sorensen for damage to his vehicle caused by debris falling off the back of a county highway flatbed truck. It's referred to Personnel and Finance. A notice of claim from Jason Davis for damage to his vehicle's windshield caused by debris falling off the back of a county truck, also referred to Personnel and Finance. You have a number of other resolutions from other counties. The first one is from Door County, urging the legislature to revise the statutes for court fees and costs in probate and juvenile cases, referred to the Legislative Committee. Kenosha County's resolution in regards to asking Governor Evers and the state legislature to apply for a waiver from federal rules excluding institutional stays for Medicaid coverage, also referred to the Legislative Committee. And one from Portage County, asking a resolution supporting the local control for livestock sighting, and that's also referred to the Legislative Committee. You received a number of thank you notes from the seniors that received the scholarships from the county this year. The first one was from Brandon Robach, Lucas Pinkerton, Natalie Miller, Megan Schulte, and then Emmeline Liskey as well. So they're here. If anybody wants a copy of them to see what they said, I'll be happy to give that to you. That's it.
Thank you. Reports from committees, commissions, and boards. Supervisor Gabbard.
Just a couple of things. One has nothing to do with the committee I serve on, but on the way here tonight, I noticed that there were several county highway crews coming back from work to the shop. So I wanted to give kudos to the Winnebago County highway workers that are putting in long hours and doing a good job for us. My second item is EAA starts Monday, July 22nd for a week. This is one of the big events in Oshkosh, Winnebago County, so I hope most of you can partake of some of it. The Monday is a free event. You can go online to eaa.org/OSH50, and you can get 4 tickets per household to get tickets to go next Monday on behalf of the EAA, saying thank you to everyone in Winnebago County for putting up with us for 50 years. So free tickets for one day, good deal. So I hope you can enjoy it as I will. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Gabbard. Next is Supervisor Smith, followed by Supervisor Eisen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last Wednesday, I attended the Eastern Wisconsin Counties Railroad Consortium. It was our annual meeting. Our agenda included the budget for 2021 and the support the idea, or 2020, excuse me, considered to take, we're keeping the county dues at $25,000 per county. And then we're looking at the freight, Wisconsin Department of Transportation Freight Rail Preservation Program, and the biannual budget is at $30 million. We also discussed action on the bylaws. Some minor tweaks were made to make them clearer, and they were adopted by the members present, and a copy was sent out, matter of fact, this morning.
Thank you, Supervisor Smith. Supervisor Eisen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to ask the Corporation Council to elaborate and report from the last Public Safety Committee meeting on the status of the coroner's issue and situation. I think she may be prepared to have an explanation to the board, but I don't see any particular place where that's identified. But it would be as a result of the last Public Safety Committee meeting.
Madam Corporate Counsel, are you able to do that at this time?
Did you have the,
Supervisor Eisen might be referring to the Judiciary Committee meeting. I think you may be referring to the Judiciary Committee meeting.
yes,
All right. And as you know, we were in closed session, given the fact that there is a personnel matter involved, and I cannot comment at this time.
Thank you.
help explain?
No, Commissioner Kaberlein is here for any questions that may arise regarding my office's need to have an
Okay.
additional attorney
Okay.
and paralegal.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Supervisor Finch, followed by Supervisor Fari.
100% on resolution number 174-072019. Has to do with the Park Department accepting a Meet Me at the Park grant from the National Recreation and Park Association from Walt Disney Company. $30,000 can go a long way, so I'm hoping for 100% on this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Finch. Supervisor Fari.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to notify the board that the Winnebago County Land Conservation Committee has approved a new contractual agreement with the Way In on the Waters Group to continue their work in the three counties, Winnebago, Calumet, and Fond du Lac. I'll be bringing that forward for your review and hopefully approval in September. So look for it in a couple of months. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Fari. Supervisor Sharsky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It occurred to me when I was attending the 4th of July events, the Declaration of the Independence reading and also the parade, that we supervisors are missing an opportunity for public visibility, and we've talked about that in some of our meetings. So I would encourage you to take a look at what's happening in your district, related to your district, and maybe consider getting together and participating in that parade. There are lots of public representatives that participate in the parades, and it would be really nice for us to do that too. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Sharsky. Seeing no other lights, we'll move on. Next is approval of proceedings from the June 18th, 2019 County Board meeting. Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. County Executives Report.
There's numerous items on this agenda worthy of comment, but I will select just a few. Resolution 172, adding a position to corporate councils. That position largely will be responsible to do work that was previously contracted out, and it may free up some additional time for other work that's done in corporate counsel's office. I think the position is well thought out and should be supported. I wanted to draw attention to the transfer of money from the county reserve and contingency for the building of new community gardens on land recently acquired by the Parks Department, that they're willing to be used for county gardens. I think that's greatly appreciated by the community that makes good use of that land, and this will replace another site that's going to no longer be available. And then I want to comment on the all-terrain vehicles. I do have some concerns with this resolution as it's written, and would like to see it sent back to committee for additional discussion. There's several county roads that are really quite urbanized. County A, County AP, and County CB, for instance, that carry a great deal of traffic. We're spending millions to improve an intersection on County CB because it was considered dangerous and the number of car collisions. If an ATV or UTV was involved in a collision there, the results are obvious. Also, the ordinance doesn't address ages. In Wisconsin, people that are quite young without a driver's license can operate these vehicles. So you may be bringing people onto county highways that are younger than what we would allow to drive a car and do not have a driver's license. So I think you have to consider the safety of any given location. This has been done successfully in some rural counties, but we're a partly rural and partly urbanized county, and I think that needs to be considered. And that's what I have for my report.
Any questions for the county executive? Not seeing any. I thank you very much.
Thank you.
The report I have tonight is I have excused as Chairman Ramos, Supervisor Spellman, Lautenschlager, Norton, Robel, Youngquist, and Snyder. And 4 of them are on their way back from NACO. Their plane route got rerouted. They were supposed to come in and they thought they'd be here by 5 or 6, and they won't be in until 8 or 9. They got rerouted to Detroit. I talked to Supervisor Robel today. He's doing much better than 2 weeks ago that I talked to him. Any of you that would like to talk to him, he's more than happy to take your phone calls. He's not at home, he's by his daughter, but his telephone number is the same. So any of you that would like to talk to him, he'd be more than happy to speak to you. The other thing I would like to bring up is there was a Towns Association picnic that we were all invited to, kind of going off from what Supervisor Zhorsky just said, and Supervisors Keller, Borkart, Knitsky, Defferding, and myself, along with County Executive Harris and Sheriff Motz and some of his department, were there representing the county. So it was very much appreciated by the Towns Association, I'm sure. So that's all I really have, unless someone else has anything that they want to ask me. Don't make it hard if you're going to ask me anything. So, okay, hearing or seeing nothing, we'll go to our zoning reports. Report number 1, Judy and Richard L. Christensen, Town of Clayton, for a mandatory ordinance number 070119, rezoning from B3 Regional Business, A2 General Agriculture to R2 Suburban Low Density Residential, M1 Mixed Use, B3 Residential Business for tax parcel numbers 006-0527 and 006-0528. Supervisor Fari. Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Report number 2. Oh, I'm sorry. That was report number 1. A mandatory ordinance. I read them both at the same time. A mandatory ordinance number 070119, rezoning from B3 Regional Business, A2 General Agriculture to R2 Suburban Low Density Residential, M1 Mixed Use, B3 Regional Business for tax parcel numbers 006-0527 and 006-0528. Supervisor Fari.
Move for the approval of a mandatory ordinance number 070119.
Motion made and seconded. Not seeing any lights. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next is report number 02, Marilyn K. and Robert J. Potratz, of the Trust Town of Armro. Supervisor Gabbert.
Make a motion to approve report number 002 for Mary Kay and Robert J. Potratz, Revocable Trust, Town of Amro.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Mandatory ordinance number 070219, rezoning from R1 Rural Residential A2 General Agriculture to A2 General Agriculture for tax parcel number 016-0819. Supervisor Gabbert.
I move for the acceptance of mandatory ordinance number 070219.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Mandatory ordinance, Town of Clayton, on behalf of Town of Clayton for parcel number 006034801 to rezone from R1 rural residential to R2 suburban residential. Supervisor Gabbert. I missed one. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yes.
I move for the mandatory ordinance number 070419.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. I'll go back up to mandatory ordinance 070319, Town of Clayton, amend to the zoning code of ordinance, chapter 9, short-term rentals, or code, I'm sorry. Supervisor Gabbert.
I move for the acceptance of a mandatory ordinance number 070319.
Motion been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Mandatory ordinance number 070519, Town of Clayton, on behalf of Richard Christensen to rezone tax parcel numbers 0060527 and 006-0528 from A2 General Agricultural District and B3 General Business District to R2 Suburban Residential District, B3 General Business District, and M1 Mixed Use District. Supervisor Fari.
Chairman, I move for a mandatory ordinance number 070519 on behalf of the town of Clayton.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. A mandatory ordinance number 07062019, Town of Clayton, on behalf of Kenneth Schmick to rezone tax parcel numbers 0240472-01-02 and 024-0472-01-01 from A2 Agricultural District to Rural Residential Recreational Mixed Use. Supervisor Gabbert.
I move for the acceptance of a mandatory ordinance number 07062019.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolutions and ordinance. Resolution number 165-072019. Commendation for Deanna Jordan. Supervisor Rasmussen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, I'm sorry. Got to find the right mics here now. There you are.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move for resolution number 16507-2019.
Motion's made and seconded. Go ahead, Mr. Rasmussen.
Okay. Deanna Jordan started working in food service at Parkview Health Center in January 1981 and retired on July 1st, 2019, after 38 years of dedicated service. Diana is truly deserving of special commendation. She was dedicated to meeting the nutritional needs of the residents. Diana was a conscientious team member who was often helpful in training new employees. Please join me in thanking Diana for her years of service and wishing her enjoyment in her well-deserved retirement.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 166-07201, commendation for Coral Schrouth. Supervisor Rasmussen.
Thank you. I move for resolution 16607-2019. Coral Schrouth was a highly dedicated employee of the Parkview Health Center for almost 38 years. As the major part of her 45-year career caring for others as a certified nursing assistant. Her compassionate and gentle approach toward helping those in need made Coral a strong role model who provided a sense of comfort to every resident she touched. Coral provided emotional and physical support to residents, along with laughter, and gave them the strength to carry on each day. She truly made a difference. We congratulate Coral for a job well done and hope that the next chapter of her life holds all that is bright.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 167-07219, commendation for Lisa Shaft. Supervisor Rasmussen.
Thank you. I move for resolution 16707-2019. Lisa Saff started with Winnebago County in 1987. For 32 years, she served the most vulnerable population in Winnebago County through Human Services Department. Lisa began her career supporting the behavioral health team, For the past 12 years, she worked in economic support, ensuring that eligible people received assistance with grocery costs and medical care. She retired this past July 1st. Congratulations to Lisa and best wishes for her future.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 168072019, commendation for Mark Weissensell. Supervisor Rasmussen.
Thank you. I move for Resolution 16807-2019. Mark Weissensell started his career with Winnebago County on July 5th, 1983. He has been a great advocate for our aging population and an integral part of coordinating specialized transportation and nutrition programs throughout the county. Mark worked closely with other agencies and departments to arrange needed services throughout the county. He has been a positive influence on many work associates and student interns for the past 36 years. Mark's commitment to Winnebago County is very appreciated.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 169072019, disallow claim of YRC Worldwide Incorporated on behalf of Alan Canfield. Supervisor Rasmussen, I'm sorry.
Thank you. I move for Resolution number 16907-2019.
Supervisor Rasmussen. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 170072019, disallow claim of Wisconsin Public Service Corporation. Date of loss 01282019. Supervisor Rasmussen.
Thank you. I move for Resolution number 17007-2019.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 171072019, disallow claim of Wisconsin Public Service Corporation, date of loss 1/18/2019. Supervisor Rasmussen.
Thank you. I move for Resolution number 17107-2019.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Resolution, amendment of table of organization for Winnebago County Corporation Council Office to add one full-time Assistant Corporation Council position and one full-time paralegal position, and authorize the transfer of $53,057 from the Winnebago County Reserve Contingency Account and $25,000 from the Winnebago County Reserve Salary Contingency Account to cover labor and operation expense for the additional staff. Supervisor Wingren.
207-2019. I'd like to point out that this is well thought out. Our Corporation Council spent a lot of time explaining this to our committee. What's happening here is several things. One, an outside counsel who has served our county for over 3 decades has retired or doesn't want to do this anymore. So it was thought, after much thought and examination, that doing it in-house would be much more efficient, because they could do not only this work, but mental health commitments, but others as well. So I urge your approval of this organizational change.
Supervisor Defferding.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First off, I should note that due to the absent members in County Board tonight, if it appears that we need a 2/3 membership in order for this to pass, meaning that we're going to need a unanimous yes vote. But one other thing I wanted to bring up, and I sent an email about this today to everyone on the county board, and I just kind of want to reiterate it here. I speak in favor of this. I do plan on voting yes. But there's something that we probably will be discussing a little bit further down the road, and luckily I had a nice meeting with Corporation Counsel and in regards to the office space needed for these new positions. But we are, a couple months ago, the district attorney did make a presentation in front of the county board regarding the mental health diversion program that we're looking to do. And this will be including increasing some staff for Department of Health and Human Services, a couple of case managers, possibly one part-time staff. And this will be in the budget time in October, so it's something to keep an eye out for in the future. But we are going to be needing some office spaces for them too. There is office space available, But we are looking to expand our diversion program to something even bigger if this succeeds. And so this is part of our strategy to avoid expanding the jail, because the expansion, if I recall correctly, we were looking at around $18 million to expand it. We want to avoid that. We have to think of another strategy. So I just want to clarify that, and it's something to keep an eye out for in the future. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Fari, followed by Supervisor Finch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did inquire, we're looking at hiring 2 employees. Your resolution does not address the full wage benefit package for a full
Supervisor
year.
Fari, can you pull your mic a little bit closer to you?
Oh, I'm sorry. Should I
Thank you.
start over?
Thank you.
I inquired about what the cost would be for a full year for these 2 employees. And that is about $177,000, including benefits. I also reviewed a document of the expenses that were spent on average with the gentleman that took care of this for the county that is now retired. And it appears to me that the proposal is cost effective. The gentleman had high costs and low costs, but if you average it out, I think it's probably better to go with it. So I would urge you to support it. Looks to be cost effective. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Fari. Supervisor Finch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will also urge you to support it. I've been on the board a long time, and we've been very fortunate with our corporate attorneys. And this young lady's really been working. And I think it's also the responsibility of the county board to help all our employees out. We don't want to overburden them. If it sounds like I'm sorting one way, I don't mean to. But we have a good person. There's a lot of work to be done. And let's face it, just look at the newspaper. 30 years ago, how many people did you see robbing a bank or something like that, or shooting somebody compared to today? That's how much it has grown, and the people need to help. So I am hoping for 100% participation on the voting line. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Finch. Supervisor Bender.
I too will be supporting this, and I think we need to actually move on this tonight. I mean, this is a position that needs to be filled. We can't just basically put this off for another month and then the hiring process takes that much longer. Hopefully we got 100% support. I mean, the corporate counsel does an excellent job. She reviewed this, she gave us a presentation. I see no reason why we can't go through with this tonight and get this on its way.
Okay, not seeing any other lights. We're ready to vote on this. We will need 24 votes to have this passed tonight. So at this time, we'll use your little buttons to go ahead and vote. A if you're for, nay if you're against. Supervisor Keller? Okay, it's passed. Next is resolution number 173072019, authorized contract between AT&T Corporation and Winnebago County Telephone Line Service. Supervisor Lentz.
I'd
some of these people are being surprised because other people are supposed to present them and some of them didn't make them tonight, so.
Okay, I move to vote on resolution 173072019, authorization contract between AT&T Corporation and Winnebago County.
Motion was made and seconded. Not seeing any lights. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 174072019, authorize the Parks Department to accept a Meet Me at the Park grant from the National Recreation and Park Association, Walt Disney Company, in the amount of $30,000 and appropriate the funds to purchase and install recreation-based equipment. Supervisor Finch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move for resolution number 174072019. Pardon me?
Motion has been made and seconded.
And Vicky's in the back, or Rob, one of the two, it should be.
All those in
both
favor
are back.
signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Good man.
Resolution number 175072019, authorize the Winnebago County Facilities and Property Management Department to demolish the Williams Building at the cost of $100,000 to be funded by the undesignated general fund balance. Supervisor Keller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move for resolution 175072019.
Motion's made and seconded. Not seeing any lights. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? One nay. All right, resolution number 176072019, authorize the transfer of $39,500 from the Winnebago County Reserve Contingency account to the Winnebago County UW Extension Maintenance Grounds account to build new community gardens on the Winnebago County Parks Department's land located at 770 East County Road Y. Supervisor Bender.
I'll move resolution 176072019. Second. It's a one-time fee to basically put the driving lanes in the community gardens. Once that's done, it should be up and running, it should be self-supporting. I believe Chris and Kimberly are in the back if you have any questions.
Not seeing any lights. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 177072019, advocate the state legislator to expand Medicaid in Wisconsin. Supervisor Finch.
I move for resolution number 177072019. Second.
Made and seconded. Supervisor Wojciechowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to kind of talk about the resolution a little bit before we vote on it. I brought this resolution to the Legislative Committee at our previous meeting, and I want to thank the committee. We had a very productive and civil conversation about this resolution. We had Representative Gordon Hintz, who was on the for side, and also Representative Schra and State Senator Dan Fine on the opposing side, so we definitely had arguments on both sides and hearing from both of them from their perspectives and roles in the legislature. So that was really great to have that and have them answer questions. We had people from the health department answering questions and giving us some of their insight and reasonings behind supporting this. Included in your materials and packet was a letter basically from our health department outlining why they support this resolution. Just a couple of the things that I wanted to point out. Providing approximately $104 million in new investment for Winnebago County would be incredible. Expanding Medicaid to an estimated roughly 2,000 Winnebago County residents, and that may not seem like a lot, but at the county level, that is a significant amount of people. Those are our neighbors, our friends, our family, people who could really use that. I think accepting this money and hopefully having that invested in Winnebago County could help us address mental health problems, the opioid crisis, and making our departments more equipped to handle these. So I would please ask that you support this. Outagamie County just passed a similar resolution So I think it's time that we kind of lead the conversation and advocate the state legislature to do this. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Shortsky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am undecided about this and have been all along, but I have three questions that maybe someone here can answer. First of all, what is the new cost to the state of Wisconsin for expanding Medicaid? The second question is, if the Affordable Care Act for everyone is provided with subsidy for low-income people, why do we have a need to expand the Medicaid program? And then the third question is, has there been any discussion about the counties paying for the expansion of Medicaid versus it being a state cost, and have it done by county? So those are my three questions. Again, the biggest question I have is, if we have approved Affordable Care Act, it's in place, people can sign up for it, they can get subsidies if they're low income, so why in the heck do we need to also expand Medicaid coverage? Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Wojciechowski, can you answer that, or
Not
can you refer it to someone?
Yeah, I don't know if the people from the health department are still here. I did see some people walk out, but
I don't know if Dr. Tobel can. Dr. Tobel, if you could.
Yes, I'll try to answer a couple of things. I don't know if I can answer them all, but only the state of Wisconsin, not counties, could accept expansion money from the federal government. So counties are out. The difference, when your question about if a person has Affordable Care Act coverage, why would they need Medicaid expansion money? The difference is that a person now between 101% of poverty and 138% of poverty is eligible for the Affordable Care Act and is eligible for subsidies to help pay for premiums, but there is still a large deductible in the Affordable Care Act, and someone estimated it would be over $2,000 a year for that deductible to be fulfilled. Now, if they were on Medicaid, they would not have deductible, nor would they have to pay a premium. And these are people who are making between, say, $13,000 a year and $17,000 a year as a single adult. So that's why the federal government has encouraged states to consider adding this benefit. I think the third question you had was, what's it going to cost the state of Wisconsin? Well, there is a 90% payment by the federal government, a 10% by the states. However, if the state of Wisconsin accepted it, there would be savings because of what the state of Wisconsin has already put in GPR for people from 0% to 100% of that. So we're actually, state taxpayers are paying hundreds of millions of dollars right now to add that benefit because they're not getting any money from the federal government. So what I understood is that there would actually be savings of, I believe, I'm going to say roughly $200 million, maybe it was more than that, by accepting the federal Medicaid money. So again, it's not something that, as you've been following things, it was not included in the governor's budget, or it was included in the governor's budget. It was not passed by the legislature, and nothing was said about it after the governor passed this budget. So if it were to happen at all, it would have to be in a special session that would have to come up, either this fall or next year or whatever. But I think the intent of the resolution is to say on this county's, if you agreed to it, you'd be saying as a county to the state legislature and to the governor that you wish them to continue to consider that as an option. That's what, am I right about the intent of that? Okay. Did I answer your question? Okay.
Thank you. Supervisor Faris, followed by Supervisor Wingren.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Kind of reiterate his comments. This is a resolution that is, at this point, a make-you-feel-good type resolution because the legislature has already acted on this. In essence, when the governor did not try to add it back in using his veto pen, you're basically, something that's not going to be addressed probably for about 2 years in this biennium. The other issue is, and I had the same concerns when I voted on this, and I voted no in the Ledge Committee, is the residents we're talking about are provided insurance through the Affordable Care Act, i.e. Obama insurance. I think the comment that they have a $2,000 deductible is possibly accurate, but I'm not sure. I haven't been able to confirm that. So that is the question here. They already have insurance. The question becomes, with that low of an income, can they afford to provide insurance for themselves or their family if they have one, given that deductible? And until that is proven to me, I think I would err on the option of they already have that insurance. They are receiving subsidies to cover the deficits we're referring to. So that was my position then, and I still think that is the position now. Once again, I elaborate, this is a make you feel good type thing. So that's my comments.
Thank you, Supervisor Fari. Supervisor Wingren.
I'm stunned, just stunned. My Aunt Tilly, who lives at the very edge, would say to me, Sonny, and I love it when she calls me Sonny.
Yeah.
What is the matter with feeling good? Shouldn't that be what government does if it can? If we can make people feel good about themselves, what's wrong with that? I'm all for that, especially dear Aunt Tilly. What does it hurt? We had, as was said, a very vigorous discussion at the legislative committee. We had one side say, oh, this is terrible, the other side, this is good. Then we had a guest that convinced me, not a guest, but a member of that group that is very nonpartisan and very objective. That, of course, be Mark Harris, who pointed out some things. Just this morning, I watched Eye on Wisconsin. They were rebroadcasting the budget hearings. And a couple of the legislators were speaking to the very point that was made just before. It's a $2,600 deductible. If you make $15,000 a year, can you imagine living on $15,000 or $20,000 a year and then paying a $2,600 deductible? That's ridiculous. Why wouldn't we make them feel good? Why? And the other thing is, as representatives of the people tonight, are we voting on what our personal little beliefs are, or what we think is best for everybody in our district? Did we go out and talk to people? I did. I'm sure many of you did as well. And I don't like everything that I read about the Affordable Care Act, but I know it's right. I know that making health care available for people is the moral thing to do, the right thing to do. If make me feel good? Yeah, it does. What's wrong with that? So let's do the right thing, for heaven's sakes. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Finch, followed by Supervisor Konetsky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Back in my day, I didn't have to worry about this, because I could quit a job here and that afternoon put in for a job someplace else and make almost the same amount of money. So medical stuff wasn't no big deal back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. But today, there's a humongous difference. You know, especially there's jobs available yet, but they're low-income jobs. And as far as I am concerned, I'm sitting in this chair to help the citizens of Winnebago County. Not to help Jerry Finch, but to help the citizens of Winnebago County. And I feel it's our responsibility and our job, and I do repeat that, it's our job to help out however we can. I mean, let's face it, you know, if you got a low-income family, you know, he's lucky or she's lucky to have food on the table for their children. And I just feel that it's our responsibility sitting in these chairs to take care of our citizens of Winnebago County. So therefore, I am 100% for this, and I am hoping that people have a conscience and vote the same way. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Konetsky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chairman. My question has been answered.
Thank you. Supervisor Differding, followed by Supervisor Wojciechowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I oppose this particular resolution, kind of echoing the same sentiments as Supervisor Fari. I think this is grandstanding. I think that's a more correct term is that it's grandstanding. There is nothing that particular that we can do as a county. But I think that also ties into my next argument. There is that saying that whoever pays the piper gets to pull the strings. And in this particular case, because 90% of the federal government will be pitching in on this, they will be calling it. They will be calling the shots. And that leaves a lot less power to the state. That leaves a lot less power for us as the county. Furthermore, Medicaid itself is not necessarily a good program, period. It does not have good reimbursement rates. Those who qualify for Medicaid often have trouble finding a provider that will accept their reimbursement rates. And so because of that, they're not getting the actual treatment that they need. Second off, those states that expand their Medicaid involvement, like a perfect example is the state of New Mexico. That created a $417 million shortfall. It actually expanded their budgets, and they're struggling to find out how they can cover it. I think that this whole entire thing is bad. I think that this is the wrong way to go about it. Our healthcare system is absolutely broken and it needs to be fixed, but this is the wrong way to fix it. So I vote against it.
Thank you. Supervisor Wozakowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to talk about a few points that were made. I do understand the sentiment that maybe this is a feels-good resolution, but I would disagree that, I think it's our role to address issues that have an immediate impact on us. And I know we've taken up some resolutions that people have said, well, this doesn't affect us, so we shouldn't be talking about that. And yes, you can make an argument for that, but look at the numbers. I just want you to think about the facts, the numbers, the statistics of, what we could be gaining by having the state accept this, the investment that would be made in Winnebago County and the people that would benefit it. It's not just the people who are on Medicaid recipients. They aren't the only beneficiaries of this. It's everyone. The investment that we would gain from the state could go in mental health services, addressing opioid issues. It's listed in here. They have a very extensive list and information out there from the state, from multiple independent services that have researched this. 37 states, both Republican and Democrat states, have accepted this money because they have seen the benefit of this, and it shouldn't be, political. 70% of Wisconsinites supported expanding Medicaid through Badger Care and covering more people while saving hundreds of millions of dollars. There's research and studies that have been done that show that premiums are 7 to 11% lower in states that have expanded Medicaid. You might have personal disagreements about it, and I understand that because healthcare is a complicated and tricky issue, but people in Winnebago County could be receiving these great benefits. I think we have a role to say, yes, this is something that we agree with because it does have immediate impacts on our county. Just, we passed a resolution advocating for fair maps, and a lot of counties across Wisconsin did that. And, it sends a message to the state that this is an issue we care about, and it at least gives, a push to state legislators who are saying, well, the people aren't talking about this, so we're not going to talk about this. Well, they are talking about it, so let's keep it going. And yes, it wasn't passed in the budget, but that doesn't mean it can't be still brought up and pushed forward. So I really think that we should pass this and, just talk about the benefits that would directly impact our constituents and the residents in Winnebago County. So I do urge you, to try to look past your personal views and look at the big impact that this could have in our county and the benefits that it could bring. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Powers, followed by Supervisor Lentz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 2 days ago, I sat in church and listened to the gospel where the young lawyer comes to Jesus and says, "Who's my neighbor?" And Jesus said, "Let me tell you a story about a Jew who was beaten up by robbers and left on the side of the road, and 2 men passed him by who were his countrymen. A man from Samaria came by who was his enemy, who took care of him, took him someplace, gave the innkeeper some money, said, 'I'll pay more when I come back, let me know what this costs.' My neighbor is everyone, even my enemies, who can't afford to take care of themselves. I just listened to it on Sunday. We hear it in my church. You hear it every year, the story of the Good Samaritan. I feel I have a moral obligation to take care of people, whether it makes me feel good, whether it's grandstanding. I'd like to encourage the legislature to relook at this and pass the Medicaid expansion. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Lentz, followed by Supervisor Warnke.
I just wanted to make a comment on a couple of things. One, the feel-good comment. We have the ability to, as the county, to make a statement, and that's by design. So though the state and federal government do make their own decisions, and they inevitably will drive the budget and where the money goes, I still think it's within our right to give a more specific, more detailed representation of our communities by making, or by taking a stand on these types of things. I also want to, I've been on the board now for just over a year, I want to applaud those of us who are able to put our personal and our partisan ideas behind us, and I urge folks on this matter to do the same, and to take a look at your community, to take a look at those. We're talking about people making less than $20,000 a year, and a $2,000 deductible is pretty significant. We have a responsibility to our communities to care for those folks in our community, and I really do urge you guys to think about those who are down on their luck or whatever the case might be that got them there, and really think of what we can say with this resolution. That's all I have.
Thank you. Supervisor Warnke.
I call for the question.
I've got two lights on ahead of you before you did that, so I'm going to let them two talk. So we've got two lights to go. We have Supervisor Shorsky, followed by Supervisor Finch.
I am now deciding.
Excuse me,
Mr.
sir.
Chairman.
You have two lights ahead of me.
One more that you just called for the question, so I had these two lights.
If I was asking the question, you called on me, and I assume that I am next in line.
Okay?
It's okay.
So you don't want these other two people to talk? You don't think these other people have a right to talk?
No, not as long as I'm on there. And if you want to, you can refer to Mr. Eisen because he's an expert.
I'll refer to the corporate counsel. We had two other ones that had their lights lit. Mr. Warnke was next, and we had two other ones. He called for the question.
The question is called, the debate ends, and
Yeah.
the question is called.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if the two were
That's
ahead of
fine.
Mr. Warnke.
No, they were not.
They weren't.
Yeah.
Okay, so the question has been called. So the motion has been made and seconded. I'm going to do this by your little boxes here. So if you're in favor of it, push your yay button. If you're against, push your nay button. Passes 18. No, it had to be 3/4, so it fails. Of the body, the whole body, so. All right. Resolution number 178-07219, authorize dissolution of Lakeland Care District pursuant to 46.2895, Parent 13, Wisconsin statutes. Supervisor Singstock. Not hearing any second? Second. Okay, we have a second. Okay, discussion. Okay, first is Supervisor Wingren, followed by Supervisor Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since this resolution is submitted by Larry Lautenschlager, and since he's not here to explain what this is all about, I move to table this indefinitely.
Second.
And I'll go along with you. The only thing I wanted to say is Supervisor Lautenschlager called this morning, and because of their plane being rerouted, he did not say have it pulled or whatever. And so Supervisor Singstock was next to bring it in, so that's why. So,
Did it come from a committee? Obviously not.
no, it did not, but he did call this morning, but. Okay, the motion's made and seconded. So, then it's overridden. Motion made, so, right. So, all right. We'll clear that off then, right? Clear them all off and they have to talk about it. Or anyone wanting to talk just on the, having it forever, you said? Indefinitely. Indefinitely. Supervisor Smith, did you wish to speak on that?
Yeah, I have a question.
Just on the indefinitely. That's all we're talking about now.
I agree with postponing it indefinitely.
Okay. Okay. Do you have anything else to say on it? No. Okay. Next to be Supervisor Fari. Just on postponing.
I guess I'm not going to be allowed to ask my question, so.
Just postponing.
Pass.
Supervisor Eisen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is one of the post facto resolutions. Whether Mr. Leichenschlager is here or not, irrespective, we have Dr. Topol here. If you can remember, about not quite a decade ago, we created the Lakeland, and the county executive is also here. We created the Lakeland Community District, and this was to take the functions that the Human Services Department were responsible for, and in partnership with Manitowoc County and with Fond du Lac County, we created this district. It was debated at the time whether we would have a corporate structure for the community care organization, but it was voted to have this because it was.
This is just whether you're for or against the disposal of it now, of the motion.
I oppose it because there's a point of order on this, because this is an issue that you really don't have any choice about.
I know.
The district has been replaced by a corporation that has for 2 years, since 2016, taken the functions of the care district. This is just a perfunctory motion to officially put it to bed. And I would ask the chair to call upon the Director of Human Services, or perhaps the county executive, to explain.
This is supposed to be tabled or not? Yes or no? I guess that's all I need, Paul.
You can't table this damn thing because it's already done.
Supervisor Swartzky, no more of that. Yes, Supervisor Swartzky.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree that this should be tabled and directed to through the appropriate committee to deal with it and bring it to us with the information we require. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Gabbard.
Corporate counsel, what's indefinitely mean? Does it mean it can be brought back next month, or does it mean no? Indefinitely means what?
Indefinitely means that it's dead.
Dead?
So you need to adjourn it or postpone it.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Singstock.
I changed my mind. I'm not going to speak on it.
Supervisor Lenz.
One of my questions were answered. I have a couple others. So the folks that Eisen referenced, are they able to speak to this in the absence of Lagenschlauer? And did Supervisor Lagenschlauer appropriately propose this resolution so that we can take it up today?
Yes, it went through corporate council, am I correct? Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Fari.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The motion to table kills it, period. You can't bring it back. It's a done deal. I urge you to turn that down, vote no, and then go to the original motion so we can have some discussion and understanding of what's before us. Thank you.
Okay, not seeing any other lights. Would you like to tell them exactly what we're voting on now, corporate council, and how it is? So everyone understands this is what you're voting on.
I think Supervisor Farah just cleared it up. You're voting on a motion to table. A motion to table means that it's dead. It cannot be voted on. But if you look at the actual resolution, as Supervisor Eisen pointed out, this is a housekeeping detail. But in terms of the motion to table, which you're going to be voting for now, if you say, yes, we need to table, it is a done deal, and you cannot bring it back. Does that explain it?
Everyone understand what you're voting on?
Pretty clear.
Okay. Guess not. Okay, not seeing any other lights. All those in favor of the motion, push the aye button. Those that are against it, push the nay button.
Yeah, this is the table, yes or no?
Right, just the table.
Table means dead.
Table means dead. That fails, right? And that fails. Now we're back to the regular. So we're back to authorize the dissolution of Lakeland Care District pursuant of 46.2895 Parent 3 Wisconsin statutes, which Mr. Singstock brought in. Do you have to bring it in again? Does he have to bring it in again? Do they have to bring it in again, or we can just discuss now? Okay, so it can just be discussed again now. Supervisor Gabbard.
So if it's back on the floor now, I have questions. So we have some experts here. So if this is housekeeping, why are we doing housekeeping now if Lakeland's already changed to a corporation? When did this actually happen? It seems we do a lot of housekeeping after the fact. And I was upset that I saw Lakeland was going away because I remember when we got Lakeland Care in here. So maybe Dr. Topol could explain to me what transpired with Lakeland Care being now a corporation of some sort, so that I know what I'm going to vote on, if you would, please.
I believe we have two back there, Dr. Torpel and another one, I believe.
Yeah, so I'm going to address just those things that may pertain to human services, but Katie Minook, who is the CEO of Lakeland, used to be Care District, now Lakeland Care Inc., is with us tonight, and she can answer all of the questions you have about what happened and what transpired. Just a real short, my understanding is that the law was changed back a couple years ago, it has it in your resolution, and that care districts could no longer exist. And so it was up to the entity to decide how it was going to reorganize, and Katie will have to be the one to tell you, what they went through to decide what the new entity was about and all of that. I can tell you that honestly, between what we had before and what we have now, in my experience, we're still having the same level of service. There's really nothing from my vantage point that is telling me that anything has changed in regard to Winnebago County residents. So I can just give you that as my little piece of it, and then I want to turn it over to Katie to address your question about.
That was my concern. Is anybody being left out of the circle of care? That was important to me. So
From our standpoint, it's no difference, but I'll let Katie talk about the transition.
Thank you. Yeah, this is purely a housekeeping measure. The change actually occurred on January 1st of 2017, and none of the individuals who were served by Lakeland Care District, which became Lakeland Care Inc., a private nonprofit, were affected. It was really a transparent change for those individuals. It was just us reorganizing and becoming a different structure.
But it took that long to get to the housekeeping factor.
Right, it has taken that long to get to the housekeeping factor. What we need to do is have each of the 3 counties that founded Lakeland Care District, which is Winnebago, Manitowoc, and Fond du Lac, pass resolutions. And the other 2 counties have done that, and now we're asking Winnebago County to also do that.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Smith.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have one question that was asked of me to ask tonight by a constituent who is being serviced by Lakeland Care now. Will her services that she's getting, will they change at all?
They will not change as a result of this resolution, no.
Okay.
And in fact, as I said, the transition has already happened. It happened a few years ago. So this is transparent to the individuals who are served.
Thank you. Supervisor Wise.
Mr. Vice Chairman, my questions have all been answered.
Thank you. Supervisor Wingren.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have an observation based on what Mary Beth Gabbard asked. 30 months ago, this dissolved, and you call this a house cleaning? That's an awful dirty house, isn't it? 30 months? Why does one supervisor bring this in? Why isn't a committee? Why 30 months? That's seems very wrong to me. Anybody answer that? Like, what committee would this go to? Why didn't they catch this or whatever?
I can answer it somewhat. It's because Larry Lautenschlager is the only one that's represented on this board that is on that committee. It's one of them boards that, and he's the only one that's represented from this board.
All right.
Supervisor Eisen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I had mentioned before, I'm very disappointed because a decade ago, when this district was formed, we were informed that this would be operated in a very transparent fashion. That was the selling point of having a public partnership so that we could have numerous members. And I think at the time we had about 3 members on the Lakeland Care Board, and we got reports on what was going on. I think that there has been a fault that we have not, this board has not received a report on a regular basis. And I think perhaps the chair can make a note, so as we go forward, we can expect to have reports from committees and commissions so we know what is going on with the various connections. I'm always hearing Supervisor Smith telling us about the consortium, the train consortium. I think we need to have regular reports in respect to those committees. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Finch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to lay this over until the next month's board meeting. Larry should be here, and we have a lot of questions that have been discussed. No legitimate answers that I could see or really understand. But I think with Larry and other people being here next month, we will get our answers, what we really truly need and want. So I would like to lay this over until next month.
There's been a motion and second to lay over for 1 month till the next meeting. Not seeing any lights light up. All those in favor signify, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Eisen.
I oppose that, and the simple reason is the president of the corporation was here and explained just exactly what transpired. There is nothing that Larry Legenschlager is going to be able to add that's going to make our decision any better or any worse. So I would advise my fellow supervisors to vote that down.
Supervisor Wojciechowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with Supervisor Eisen. I think this is a waste of time to postpone it a month, especially if the impact you know, we were just talking about feel-good resolutions. This is kind of similar to a feel-good resolutions. We have an expert over here telling us what transpired. So if you have questions about this, why can't we ask them now while we're here? I don't think, if Larry wanted to wait a month, he's the one who brought it forward, I think he would have, you know, asked us to wait a month so he could be here, but I think he thinks it's worth us voting on now. So I would say just save the time and vote on it now. So I'm opposing to postpone this.
Okay, I'm not seeing any other lights. Those that wish to hold over, we'll go ahead and we'll vote on our little pads here. Those that wish to hold it over for a month, push A. Those that do not, push nay. And it will not be held over. So, we're back to the resolution now that Harold originally brought in, is to go ahead and whether to pass it or not. So is there any discussion on this? If not, all those in favor of going ahead? Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With your permission, I'd like to ask Mr. Harris to give us a more perhaps simplified and summarized response. Is that okay?
I was told the executive can't, but I'm going to ask the executive, do you have anything that you can add that's going to make it better?
Simpler.
Very,
Need us here if we have to ask him.
very short.
He's the one who's making the decision.
I don't know, we did a lot of stuff your way, so why don't you let him talk?
The state changed the law with regard to family care districts, and they made them change form, basically. So they also required that each of the counties that formed the district, as part of the legal process, would agree to terminate it, but in all effects, the state laws have already terminated the form that we originally were in. So this is a legal requirement, but it's only going to carry out the effect that's already been done by changes in state law.
Thank you.
Thank you for the privilege, Mr. Chairman.
So those in favor, push your button with aye. Those that are opposed it, push no. There we go. And it passes. Okay, ordinance number 179072019 creates section 7.16 of the General Code of Winnebago County, all train vehicles, utility train, vehicle routes and regulations. Supervisor Albrecht.
For the adoption of resolution 17907/2019. Second.
Motion made and seconded. Supervisor Eisen.
Can you address the issue?
The
that
all-terrain
we're-
vehicle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you look at the DNR regulations for operating the all-terrain vehicles on roads, you'll see that all-terrain vehicles can be operated by individuals age 12 and up, people who have 4 years to go to get their driver's license can operate a 2,000-pound vehicle going 45 miles an hour on county roads. That ain't right. I don't want to see my 12-year-old grandchild driving an all-terrain vehicle, whether or not her daddy is in front of her. And I think that the guests who have spoken, there were two individuals that said that there is a need for an amendment to this resolution. And I think it may be appropriate to refer it back to the committee so that those particular amendments can be considered, and certain roads. The county executive said, you don't want these all-terrains on Highway CB. You don't want them on Highway A. I think that if the committee would put in some age requirements within Winnebago County, if they would select rural roads, perhaps, there can be a compromise. But otherwise, I couldn't do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Hogan, followed by Supervisor Gabbard. Nussbaum, I'm sorry, I apologize, I'm looking at my thing here.
Thank you. Besides the concerns already brought up, I have a concern about the 10-mile-an-hour speed limit near the houses. And I just checked one road, and that's County A. There's over 1.5 miles where these ATVs are going to be traveling at 10 miles an hour, and this is a very busy road, and it's just going to cause road rage and people passing where they shouldn't be passing. I think it's a bad thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Gabbard.
I'm all about safety, so I have a question for Ray. I think he's still here. What is the liability for the county highway department for allowing these vehicles, and if there's an accident? And my second question would be to Sheriff Motz. Who's gonna take care of patrolling these vehicles that are out of order? And I drive down Y every day to and from work, and Y is awfully busy with some pretty big vehicles. So safety is the issue for me, and I'm worried about that.
Highway Commissioner.
Thank you. I had trouble hearing your question. You're curious about the liability?
What is the liability to Winnebago County, say, Highway Department, for an instance that would happen on a county road?
Well, if you're referring to a legal liability, that would be a question possibly for Corporation Counsel would be more appropriate to answer that. I can speak from the Highway Commissioner, from the Highway Department's perspective. Certainly we want to promote recreational activities in the county. But as a Highway Commissioner, it's my responsibility or my duty to promote safe and effective practices on our county highway system. Are there opportunities potentially on the western half of the county and the rural roadways with low traffic volumes? Sure, I think there are some opportunities. I think Mr. Harris brought up a good point. There are, as you approach the urbanized area with our urbanized roadways, higher traffic volumes, higher ADTs. The roadways are just not suited for that type of activity. So I think that there are some opportunities, but I think we need to clarify from an engineering perspective and a functionality perspective and a safety perspective, which highways would be appropriate.
Thank you. Supervisor Rasmussen, followed by Supervisor Gordon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe I heard somebody talk about tabling or sending this back to the committee. Was that a motion? previously? If not, I'll make that motion now. This needs a lot of cleaning up, based on all the reasons that have said. We don't need this in urban areas. It certainly could be allowed in rural areas. This has to be taken back to the committee and revised to clean up those items.
Motion made and seconded. Supervisor Gordon on sending it back?
Yes.
Okay.
I was going to move to send it back because the point was made about expanding to winter access, and I think that was also something that should be sent back to committee to consider that as well.
Thank you. Supervisor Wingren, sending it back?
No.
Supervisor Skorsky, sending it back?
Yes, and I would like to ask the committee to address the comments from our guest today, as well as the county executive and other members of our group. And my concern is that the rules of the road would apply to these people if they are on roads. And that includes licensing and also sober driving, those kinds of issues that are related to being on county roads. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Fari, sending it back?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe at this point I will support that. I would also ask that the sheriff of this county be part of that discussion with the highway committee when it comes up. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Lentz, sending it back?
Yes, I'd be in favor of that. Most of my points were addressed. It was brought to my attention by an individual from the community that the state statute is written very strictly on how our routes are able to be handled. And he had pointed out that there was some concern, we may have some confliction with line 62 and 63 in regards to the 10 miles per hour. So if we send it back to committee, I'd like them to look that over and make sure that we're complying appropriately with state statute 23.33.
Thank you. Supervisor Konetsky?
No.
Supervisor Diffiding?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do support in sending this back. I think that I do support us striking the dates of limitation from May 1st to ending October 31st. I think we should have this year-round. And I definitely think that we should eliminate the times as well. Winnebago County has a bunch of beautiful lakes, and there are people that go out there early for ice fishing, and so I think we should accompany that. One thing that maybe now I understand that safety is an issue, and one thing that we can do to circumvent that, or at least to address that issue too, is that some of these vehicles may not actually have brake lights, and so maybe what we can do is look into making sure that all vehicles have brake lights available. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Borchardt? Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't do nothing.
Okay. Supervisor Jones?
Yes, I just wanted to state that I am in favor of sending this back to the committee for the several reasons that have been brought up as well, and would also ask the committee to check the proposed ordinance for consistency with adjoining counties, as was brought up during the public comment this evening, and also for consistency within those towns within our county that have an ATV ordinance already in place. Thank you.
Okay. That's all the lights we have. So, I guess that's it then. So we need a motion has been made and seconded to send it back. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Supervisor Albrecht? Motion made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Adjourned.